In 1925, across the vast, snow-white cotton fields of the American South, the roar of a biplane engine echoed through the sky. That plane wasn't carrying passengers, nor was it flying far. It simply hovered over the cotton rows, spraying pesticide to protect the crops. Yet from that seemingly simple and modest setting, Delta Airlines was born, marking the beginning of a journey that would span nearly 100 years. Delta not only survived economic crises, world wars, and intense mergers, it steadily rose to prominence with bold business strategies, pioneering technology, and an unshakable belief in the value of people. How did an agricultural dusting squad become a global aviation icon? Today, let's uncover the inspiring story behind the rise of Delta Airlines. Don't forget to like, share, and comment if you find this story fascinating, and subscribe to our channel to follow us on more journeys through history. Buckle up, we're about to take off with Delta. The Huff-to-Land Duster biplane, considered the ancestor of Delta, was used to spray pesticide over cotton fields in 1925. In Macon, Georgia, the Huff-Dayland Dusters Company was founded, becoming the world's first aerial crop dusting company. The initial mission was simple: use aircraft to spread pesticides over cotton crops to help farmers combat the devastating boll weevil epidemic. Among those who quickly saw the potential of this business was C.E. Woolman, a passionate agricultural engineer. In 1928, he and a group of local investors purchased the company and renamed it Delta Air Service, inspired by the Mississippi Delta region where they had grown up. The new company was officially established on December 3, 1928, with Woolman as its first vice president. The name Delta carried a rustic tone but held big ambitions, symbolizing the fertile delta that nurtures growth, hinting at the beginning of a promising journey in aviation. Just a year later, on June 17, 1929, Delta Air Service launched its first passenger flight, connecting Dallas, Texas to Jackson, Mississippi, using a 5-seat travel airplane. The flight stopped in small towns like Shreveport and Monroe, the latter eventually becoming the company's second home when headquarters relocated to Louisiana. Within a year, the route network expanded eastward to Atlanta and westward to Fort Worth. However, challenges soon emerged. In 1930, the U.S. government restructured airmail contracts, and Delta lost a vital postal contract to a competitor. As a result, the airline was forced to suspend passenger service in October of that year and sell nearly all its assets. But Woolman and his colleagues didn't give up. They repurchased the crop dusting assets and established Delta Air Corporation at the end of 1930. Luck returned in 1934 when the government overhauled the postal service after the airmail scandal. Delta won the bid for Airmail Route 24 and resumed mail and passenger flights between Fort Worth and Charleston. On August 5, 1934, Delta officially reinstated its passenger service, now under the name Delta Airlines. From that moment, the company transformed from an aerial agriculture service into a true commercial airline, ready to spread its wings across America's vast skies. The 1940s marked a turning point for Delta. In 1941, the company moved its headquarters from Monroe to Atlanta, Georgia, preparing for a major expansion. After World War II ended, Delta seized the opportunity to grow its network. In 1943, it added routes to New Orleans, then to Chicago and Miami in 1945, connecting north and south, east and west across the U.S. That same year, the company formally became Delta Airlines Incorporated, standardizing its branding across operations. Post-war, Delta rapidly modernized its fleet with Douglas DC-3s and DC-4s, significantly expanding its services. In 1946, it launched its first scheduled air freight service. A year later, Delta welcomed its 1 millionth passenger, highlighting its impressive growth. In 1949, the airline pioneered low-cost overnight flights between Chicago and Miami, an early step in its cost-competitive strategy. Entering the jet age, Delta made its ambition clear: to lead in aviation technology. In 1953, the airline completed a merger with Chicago and Southern Airlines, gaining its first international routes to the Caribbean and South America, including flights from New Orleans to Havana and Caracas. Following the merger, the fleet expanded, and Delta adopted the hub-and-spoke model, using Atlanta as its central hub, a strategic foundation for rapid growth in the next decades. In 1959, Delta became the first airline in the world to operate the Douglas DC-8 jetliner. In 1960, it again led with the fast Convair 880. By 1965, Delta was the first to fly the new Douglas DC-9. During this time, the iconic red, white, and blue widget logo was introduced, a stylized triangle resembling a jet's wings soaring through the sky. Thanks to heavy investments in technology and aircraft, by 1970, Delta had completely transitioned to an all-jet fleet, retiring all propeller planes. This was a strategic milestone that elevated Delta into the ranks of America's most advanced and largest airlines by the end of the 1960s. When the U.S. airline industry was deregulated in 1978, the market was immediately thrust into unprecedented levels of competition. To adapt and survive, Delta pursued a strategy of scaling up through strategic mergers. In 1972, Delta acquired Northeast Airlines, a Boston-based carrier. This acquisition not only allowed Delta to enter the northeastern U.S. market for the first time, but also established direct routes from New York and New England to Florida, an attractive year-round vacation destination. Combined with an all-jet fleet, Delta quickly secured a firm presence along the eastern seaboard. Delta's first international breakthrough came in 1978 with the launch of a transatlantic route connecting Atlanta to London, a strategic move that marked its entry into the European market. Throughout the 1980s, Delta continued to strengthen its position, notably merging with Western Airlines, a major West Coast player, in 1987. This move added key hubs in Los Angeles and Salt Lake City while expanding Delta's domestic network westward. Importantly, Delta inherited a trans-Pacific route connecting Atlanta-Portland-Tokyo, marking its first presence in Asia. Also in 1987, Delta launched its frequent flyer program, SkyMiles, to enhance long-term customer loyalty. The airline expanded its fleet with Boeing 757s, 767s, and the notable Boeing 767-200 named Spirit of Delta, a heartfelt gift purchased through employee donations, honoring leadership efforts during the turbulent post-deregulation years. It became a powerful symbol of unity and internal spirit. By the early 1990s, Delta made a major international leap when Pan American World Airways, a legendary American airline, fell into crisis. Seizing the opportunity, Delta acquired most of Pan Am's transatlantic routes and its iconic Pan Am shuttle for $1.3 billion. This gave Delta rights to operate flights from New York to key European hubs like Frankfurt, London, and Paris, positioning the airline as a leader across the Atlantic. Thanks to a series of mergers with Northeast, Western, and Pan Am, Delta's network spanned continents and oceans. In 1997, Delta set a new record, becoming the first U.S. airline to serve over 100 million passengers in a single year, a dazzling milestone that closed the 20th century on a high note. Entering the 21st century, Delta Airlines faced a series of harsh challenges. The meteoric rise of low-cost carriers steadily eroded Delta's market share on many lucrative routes. Then came the tragedy of September 11, 2001, which dealt a heavy blow to the entire aviation industry. Passenger demand plummeted, leading to Delta's first major financial losses. At the same time, skyrocketing fuel prices worsened the airline's already precarious position. By 2005, the situation had reached a critical point. On September 14, 2005, Delta officially filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, citing surging fuel costs and unsustainable debt levels. With this move, Delta became the third major U.S. carrier to file for bankruptcy, following United Airlines and Northwest Airlines. This marked the darkest chapter in Delta's history, a stark reminder of the brutal realities of post-deregulation aviation. However, even in the darkest hour, Delta's will to survive shone through. Under the leadership of CEO Gerald Grinstein, Delta launched an aggressive restructuring plan. The airline implemented deep cost-cutting measures, renegotiated labor contracts, and crucially, shifted its focus to international routes with higher profit margins. Notably, Delta's employees rallied under the slogan, "Keep Delta My Delta," to resist a hostile takeover attempt by U.S. Airways. which sought to exploit Delta's vulnerability. Images of thousands of Delta employees wearing "Keep Delta, My Delta" buttons flooded headquarters, airports, and flights, showcasing an extraordinary show of solidarity. This unity was instrumental in blocking the takeover bid and successfully executing the company's turnaround. After 19 months under bankruptcy protection, Delta officially emerged from Chapter 11 in April 2007, earlier than expected. The airline returned to the New York Stock Exchange leaner, more efficient, and with a renewed fighting spirit. Freshly reborn from near collapse, Delta wasted no time making a decisive strategic move to elevate its global stature. In April 2008, the airline announced a merger with Northwest Airlines, one of America's major carriers with a strong foothold in the Asian market. The $2.6 billion deal was finalized on October 29, 2008, making Delta the world's largest airline at the time, surpassing both American and United. CEO Richard Anderson confidently declared that the merger would enable Delta to better adapt to volatile economic conditions and intensifying global competition. In reality, it was more than just a merger of size. It created powerful synergies in networks, costs, and operations. Following the merger, the new Delta boasted a fleet of nearly 800 aircraft, serving over 375 cities worldwide, becoming a true aviation powerhouse. Northwest bolstered Delta's network in Asia with routes to Japan, South Korea, and China, while Delta brought strength in transatlantic and Latin American markets, along with advantages from the SkyTeam Alliance, which it co-founded. Analysts estimated the merger would generate $2 billion in annual savings through network optimization and infrastructure integration. In October 2008, the U.S. Department of Justice and the European Union both approved the merger, concluding that it would not harm competition. In fact, it would provide significant benefits to passengers. The integration process was completed smoothly within 2 years. By early 2010, all reservation systems, websites, fleets, and branding were fully unified. Northwest aircraft were repainted in Delta livery, and the Northwest Airlines brand was officially retired. Notably, Delta pledged not to lay off any frontline workers or close any of Northwest's hubs after the merger. The airline even granted stock options to all employees as a gesture of gratitude for their commitment during the transition. From the edge of bankruptcy just a few years earlier, Delta had executed a monumental leap to become a global aviation leader ready to enter the new decade with unmatched operational strength and unbreakable unity. In the 2010s, Delta shifted strategy to enhance customer experience and embrace digital transformation. It invested billions to modernize its fleet and launched premium products like Delta One Suites and Premium Select. The airline led the industry with high-speed Wi-Fi, personal screens, RFID baggage tracking, and facial recognition at key airports. Delta topped U.S. airline rankings from 2022 to 2024 for service and reliability. Globally, it deepened SkyTeam ties and acquired stakes in Virgin Atlantic, Air France, KLM, China Eastern, Aeromexico, and LATAM, reshaping its global network and strengthening its presence in South America. When the COVID-19 pandemic struck in 2020, the entire aviation industry plunged into a severe crisis. Mass cancellations and near-zero travel demand devastated operations. In this turmoil, Delta emerged as a leader by taking bold and humane actions. It was among the few major airlines to adopt middle seat blocking policies to ensure social distancing, and it maintained this policy longer than any competitor, underscoring its customer-first philosophy. Delta also introduced unprecedented safety measures: electrostatic cabin disinfection, personal wellness kits on every flight, upgraded HEPA filtration systems, and strict mask mandates. These efforts earned Delta recognition as the safest airline during the pandemic. By late 2020, Delta began planning for recovery. The airline swiftly restored over 50 international routes, including key services from Seattle to Tokyo, Seoul, Beijing, and Shanghai. In June that year, Delta became the first U.S. airline to resume flights to China, a clear signal of its agility and forward-looking strategy. Seizing the chance for restructuring, Delta retired less efficient aircraft such as the Boeing 777, MD-88, and MD-90, and focused its operations on fuel-efficient models like the Airbus A350, A220, and A330neo. Thousands of Delta employees opted for early retirement or voluntary unpaid leave, allowing the airline to maintain workforce flexibility without resorting to mass layoffs like many competitors. As travel demand rebounded in 2021 and 2022, Delta moved quickly to recapture market share. It reinstated popular domestic leisure routes to Florida and Hawaii, two of the fastest recovering markets. Thanks to a leaner fleet, sound financials, and unwavering spirit, Delta returned to profitability in 2021 sooner than analysts expected. From a humble crop-dusting plane over cotton fields in 1925 to one of the world's largest airline conglomerates, Delta Air Lines has charted a century-long journey defined by innovation, resilience, and global leadership. Under the guidance of passionate executives and with the dedication of tens of thousands of employees, Delta has not only redefined service standards in aviation, but also inspired confidence in adaptability and perseverance. As Delta marks its 100th anniversary in 2025, the familiar slogan, "Keep Climbing," takes on renewed meaning. It's not just a look back on a century of excellence, but a vision to soar higher, farther, and serve better. Delta's story is still unfolding, just like the red, white, and blue widget on its tail, flying proudly across the skies, connecting people and the world through trust, safety, and the relentless drive to move forward.